Good evening. Welcome to the Mays Family Community Cluster Training. I am Yolanda Brown, the Chief Academic Officer here in Atlanta Public Schools, and I'm excited that you've decided to join us this evening. The academics team has a great set of trainings for you tonight. We are going to discuss our two universal screeners, which is our NWEA MAP, and of course our BASC 3 Best, Social, Emotional, and Behavioral Universal Screener. And we're going to talk a little bit about our technology piece securely so that parents can get a chance to understand exactly what type of work and what their kids are searching on their one-to-one device. So again, we have an evening chock full of great information for you this evening. So we are glad and we hope that you will remain for the entirety of this cluster training. But with that, I will turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning in the Division of Academics, Dr. Selena Florence. And again, welcome and thank you for being here.
Good evening, families, and welcome once again. Here are the norms for our meeting this evening. Be polite and respectful to others. Ask questions in the chat. We have team members available to answer questions for you. Stay focused on the topics at hand. Be patient and assume everyone is doing their best. Our agenda for this evening, we will have a welcome. We just had our welcome. We'll do some introductions. We will discuss our K-12 Universal Screener, NWEA MAP, and the BASC 3 Best. We will talk about intervention and enrichment. We will discuss securely. We will provide time for questions and answers, and then we will ask you for some feedback at the end of the session. So a little bit about the Division of Academics. You just heard from our Chief Academic Officer, Yolanda Brown. We have 3 different departments within our division. We have Teaching and Learning. I'm Selena Florence, the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. We have Katika Lovett, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. And finally, we have Aaliyah Henderson-Rosser, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Technology. A little more about our division. We talked about the 3 departments. Teaching and Learning is made up of Curriculum and Instruction, ESOL, DLI, and World Languages, Early Learning, CTAE and Signature Programs, Social Emotional Learning, and JROTC. The Department of Student Services is made up of Health Services, Student Supports and Interventions, Special Education, Summer and After School Programs. Our Instructional Technology Department is made up of Media Services, Instructional Development and Design, Instructional Technology, and Virtual Programs, including AVA. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Lovett, who will discuss our strategic plan.
Thank you, Dr. Florence, and good evening. As you see here, our strategic plan serves as the anchor for our work. All of what we'll be talking about tonight is really anchored in that strategic plan, and it's the strategic plan for 20 through 2025, where we are building on our legacy. Next slide, please. Here you have our strategic priorities from the strategic plan, and they are fostering academic excellence for all, building a culture of student support, equipping and empowering leaders and staff, and creating a system of support for schools. And all 3 of the strategic priorities are anchored in equity, excellence, and engagement. Here you have our APS 5, and this really drives the work that we do in the Division of Academics. The APS 5 is made up of data, in which we utilize data to drive all instructional decisions and ensure equitable outcomes for all students. Curriculum and instruction, in which we implement rigorous and quality, relevant, and linguistically responsive curriculum with fidelity in all core content areas, and instructional best practices in Tier 1 instruction. Whole child and intervention, where we're implementing a whole child system of supports that integrates social emotional learning, behavior, wellness, and a comprehensive academic intervention plan. Personalized learning, where we're utilizing flexible learning tools, technology integration, and targeted instruction to personalize learning for all students. And finally, signature programming, where we're strengthening the implementation of signature programming across all schools. And specifically from our strategic plan, the APS 5 is grounded in fostering academic excellence for all and building a culture of student support. All right, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Florence to get us started with the discussion on NWEA and MAP.
So the first topic for our meeting tonight is our Universal Screener, NWEA MAP. So a little bit about the purpose and value of the MAP growth assessment. The assessment is computer adaptive, which means that the questions get easier or harder depending on how your child responds. We are assessing students in both reading and math for the MAP growth assessment. MAP is a part of our academic recovery plan, which began this summer with ARA. It also serves as the first time that we have had a universal screener for all students in APS kindergarten through 12th grade. The MAP growth screener is connected to our strategic plan, which Katika just talked about. It helps us identify student learning needs at the school level. It also helps us to set and monitor school and student goals. So teachers use the data to set school goals and goals for each individual student. The MAP also guides instruction and intervention plans, and it helps us to know how much students learn and grow throughout the course of the year. So we are giving the MAP assessment in the fall, the winter, and the spring. So we will be able to measure the growth and achievement of students from fall to spring. So the MAP assessment suite is made up of 2 different assessments. We have MAP reading fluency, which is given to all of our pre-K through 2nd grade students and some of our 3rd graders. The MAP reading fluency assessment is assessing foundational reading skills. It's testing to see if students know their letters, letter sounds, if they're able to decode small words, and assessing reading fluency and comprehension. It's only a 20-minute assessment, and it's scored automatically, and it's available in both English and in Spanish. The MAP growth assessment is given to all of our K through 12 students in both math and literacy. It helps teachers to get an accurate view of how much a student has grown over time. And again, it helps students to use the data to form small groups and really address specific learning needs of individual students. The MAP growth assessment is also available in English and Spanish. And remember that we give this assessment for both math and literacy. So a little bit more about the MAP growth assessment. Again, it's computer adaptive, so the questions are getting harder or easier depending on how your student answers the questions. It measures what students know, but it also tells us what students are ready to learn next. The MAP assessment measures both growth and achievement over time. And our students participating in the Spanish DLI program will take both the Spanish and English assessments. And our Spanish-speaking English learner newcomers whose Spanish literacy is stronger than their English literacy will take the Spanish assessment. Remember that the MAP growth assessment is given to all of our K through 12 students. The MAP fluency assessment is given to all pre-K through 2nd grade students. It is online, and again, it's assessing foundational reading skills for our beginning through independent readers. It measures comprehension of materials that are read aloud to students. It uses the speech recognition technology that allows students to speak into the microphones. It automatically scores them based on the recording. So we finished our MAP assessment on September 20th. So you should have received by now a family report. This is a sample of what the family report looks like. It provides for you as a parent a summary of key results from a given test term. So you should have received a family report with a summary of results from this fall test term. It summarizes all the subjects that were tested for your student, and it's organized by term. So you should have seen on your family report math and reading. It provides data to show if students are on track, and that's on track for our state assessments, our milestone assessment, but also for ACT and SAT for our secondary students. It provides for you relative strengths and weaknesses for your child, so you know what they're doing well in and what they may need more support in. And it also helps you with specific areas that you can work on with your child at home. So it gives you ideas about how you might be able to support your child with areas of growth. So this is a sample family report again. At the top, you see questions that are helpful to you as you read the report. And in the middle, you see the math achievement and growth. And at the bottom, you see reading achievement and growth. You should have also received with your family report a family guide. This is an example of the family guide. The family guide is just giving you more information to help you as you are reading your child's MAP assessment results. So at the top, you see how it works. It tells you how the MAP growth assessment works. It tells you what it measures to help you understand the achievement piece and how achievement is measured over time. It also tells you about your child's RIT score, which is the score they receive when they finish each assessment. So it tells you about how the RIT score is, how they come up with the RIT score, and what it means for you and your child. There are also common questions for you that might help you as you're looking at your child's scores. And at the bottom, you also see the website for NWEA that gives you more information and resources for how to help your child at home. At this time, we will take any questions that you have about the NWEA MAP Universal Screener. All right, if there are no questions, I will turn it over to Dr. Lovett for information about our BASC-3 behavior screener.
Thank you, Dr. Florence. So I'm very excited at this time to introduce to you Dr. Shannon Hervey, who's going to walk us through our BASC-3 Behavioral and Emotional Screening System, or the BESS, which is the district's first universal screener for behavioral and emotional health. And she's going to talk us through how we go through that screener. She'll also talk through how the screener is scored. So I'm very excited to bring Shannon up at this time. And Dr. Hervey, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Lovett. As part of the Whole Child Framework, the district secured its first ever universal social emotional behavior screener, which is the BASC-3 BESS. The BESS screens for a variety of behavior and emotional disorders that can lead to adjustment problems. This tool is a quick and efficient way to screen students ages 3 to 18 for behavior and emotional risks. Next slide. So you may be asking, why screen for social, emotional, behavioral health? In addition to learning more about the risk all students may be subject to, the beauty of this screener is that it will help to put students on the radar of school staff who otherwise may not be there. What we have learned is that schools may not be aware of the inner and emotional struggles of students who don't or won't advocate for themselves, or students with good grades and typical behavior. The data from this screener will create an evidence-based pathway for students to receive additional supports, provide information that will help schools to focus effort, time, and resources on students who have the highest needs, and will aid schools in making big picture programming decisions in support of students. Next slide. The screener will be administered twice per school year, once in the fall and once in the spring. The fall administration window opens September the 16th and closed October the 1st. The spring administration window will open February the 15th and close March the 1st. Screening was completed during a student's homeroom period, advisement period, or during the period designated at the school level. Parents will receive a score report following each administration window, and for the fall administration, parents should have received reports last week from October the 11th through October the 15th. The World Languages Department worked collaboratively with Student Support and Intervention to ensure that the needs of English learners and their families were addressed throughout the screening process. And the World Languages Department will work with schools to ensure that all families understand their child's screener report. Next slide. Digital access of the screener was available in English and Spanish. Pen and paper administration was available in multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, Farsi, Chinese, and French. One-to-one or group administration opportunities were available for students who needed support to complete the screener, and parents and teachers were provided an opportunity to complete the screener on behalf of students who had mild intellectual disabilities that impeded their ability to complete the student form. Next slide. Any parent of a student ages 8 to 18 who did not wish for their child to take the student self-assessment portion of the BASC-3 BESS were invited to return the opt-out form to their child's school. Parents only need to opt out of the screener once during each school year. Next slide. The BASC-3 BESS will analyze a student's behavior from 3 perspectives, that being the teacher, parent, and the self-report. Students ages 8 to 18 will complete the self-assessment. However, screener information for students younger than age 8 was to be provided by teachers and parents. Teachers provided screener information for students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. Parents were invited to provide screener information for students in grades pre-K through the 12th grade. Teachers and parents spent 5 minutes or less to complete the screener, and students spent 5 to 15 minutes to complete the student self-assessment. Next slide. Take a moment to take note of the screener indexes and their explanations. These acronyms you will see again in the next few slides as I preview a sample score report. The screener will produce student data that is measured in risk. Teacher and parent forms will reveal whether a student is at risk for externalizing behaviors, such as hyperactivity or aggression, internalizing behaviors, such as anxiety or depression, or adaptive skills deficits, or problems with communication or social skills. Student forms will reveal whether a student is at risk for internalizing behaviors, self-regulation deficits such as hyperactivity or attention problems, or personal adjustment deficits such as relationship problems, self-esteem challenges, or self-reliance issues. Students are given an overall score, which is the BERIT score that indicates how far their score is from the average of the norm group. The color coding gives you a glance at how risk is measured as normal risk, which is green, elevated risk, which is yellow, or extremely elevated risk, which is red. Next slide. This is an example of a score report for a student that was completed by a teacher. We want you to have an opportunity to view an example of what a screener report could tell you for each student. Let's pause for a few seconds so that you can review, and then the next few slides will provide more explanation of the individual components of this score report. Next slide. Let's start by taking a closer look at our sample report. At the top of the score report, you see who the rater or respondent was, the validity index summary, and the assessment results at a glance. If you look in the column that says assessment results, you see the BERI, or the Behavioral and Emotional Risk Index, which indicates how far away from the norm average your student scored. Remember the color coding that I referenced earlier. The red dot next to the BERI tells us that this student has scored as extremely elevated in risk, which may indicate a need for support. Also noted is that internal risk, which measures risk for behaviors associated with depression or anxiety, is slightly more of a concern than external risk. Okay, let's go back one slide. Which measures risk for behaviors associated with hyperactivity or aggression. That being said, since this student scored extremely elevated for both internal and external risks, support may be needed in both areas. Next slide. The validity indicators provide an explanation of the extent to which this particular score report may be considered valid and that you can trust the outcome of the report. Validity index indicators will show as green for acceptable, yellow for caution, or red for extreme caution. The F index will let you know how harsh or overly negative the rater was in their responses. The consistency index will let you know if there were different responses provided to questions that were similar in nature. The response pattern index lets you know if a pattern was detected that may indicate that the rater selected answers randomly or in a pattern. Here you see that the consistency index is caution, which means that there was a question of how consistent the rater was in responding to questions that were asking similar content. Next slide. Now let's take an opportunity to review some of the teacher responses. The teacher has noted the following as areas of strength in the student, as noted by the almost always column associated with positive behaviors. Here we see that the teacher has indicated that the student is well organized and does well at getting people to work together. If we look at areas of growth, we can see that the teacher has noted the following concerns or areas of growth as indicated by the almost always column associated with negative behaviors. According to the teacher, this student worries, has poor self-control, has a short attention span, is easily stressed, and appears tense. Next slide. You may ask, so what happens next after the screener? The screener is a starting point for next steps in determining the best course of action to support students. After schools review data screener reports, school-based student support staff are meeting with students of elevated or extremely elevated risk to confirm that risk and/or identify need. They will then contact parents to discuss the risk and recommend a strategy of school support. Support that student in a manner agreed upon by the school, the parent, and the student, and then monitor progress. Next slide. There are many interventions that schools have access to and can employ. Here you see sample interventions that schools may recommend to support the needs of your student. Based on the needs that have been identified, schools can determine additional interventions and strategies to utilize for support. There is not a cookie-cutter approach to supporting students, so the work that will go into recommending and tailoring support to fit the needs of students will be essential in helping students to make progress, succeed, and thrive. Next slide. If you would like to learn more about the BAS 3 BEST, we have added a page to our Student Support and Interventions Department webpage that provides in-depth information about the screener. To access this page, please visit the APS website noted at the top of this slide. Here, parents have access to some of the most widely asked questions that I have received regarding this screener. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Are there any questions? Okay. Seeing no questions, I will pass it back to Dr. Florence, who will discuss intervention and enrichment.
All right, so we wanted to share some information with you about our intervention and enrichment block, class, or course. So the expectations for this year was that all of our elementary schools and some middle schools have an intervention block, class, or course for a minimum of 4 days per week. 2 days of that intervention time is used for math intervention, and 2 days is used for reading intervention. All other middle and high schools implement an intervention class or a course. Data from the map, as we talked about earlier, is used to help guide what teachers do during intervention. And schools also use the provided HMH and APEX resources during the intervention block, class, or course. Schools have the autonomy to decide how enrichment looks within their buildings. They may choose to do book clubs, coding, have a makerspace. Schools really have the autonomy to decide how that looks. So more about intervention. The times for each grade band: elementary schools have 30 minutes of an intervention block, class, or course. Middle schools have 45 minutes. High schools have 90 minutes. Our focus is on literacy and math, and we use a comprehensive assessment system, which includes our universal screener that we just talked about, but also includes progress monitoring. So since we give that screener at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, in between, we progress monitor to make sure that students are moving in the right direction. So a little bit about the structure of the intervention block, class, or course. We use a workshop model that is composed of 4 different pieces. So schools or teachers would start with the whole group learning, which provides students with an overview of the lesson for today and what they should be learning. Students would then move to one of three different rotations. The first rotation is student application, where students work on their device on a particular platform that has created a learning path for them based on their scores. They would then move to independent reading if it's reading intervention. If it's math intervention, students would spend time practicing independently. The third rotation is small group learning, where students work with teachers in small groups on specific areas of need for that particular group. Finally, they would go back to whole group learning, where the teacher would wrap up the lesson for the day and give an overview of what's to come. So that is an example of what you might see in the intervention block, class, or course. in grades K through 12, whole group learning, student application on their device, independent reading or independent math practice, and finally, small group instruction. We will take questions about intervention after the Securely portion. I will now turn it over to Dr. Natasha Rachel, who will talk to you about Securely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Florence, and greetings, Mays Cluster parents. We are so excited to be here with you tonight to share some information with you about Securely, which is an awesome resource that you're going to learn a ton about in just a second, and you will be able to have some individualized, let's say, power with your students. So with that said, I have a couple of questions for you. So have you ever wondered, what are your students doing on their devices while they're upstairs in their bedrooms in the evenings, or while they're sitting across from you on the couch or at the kitchen table? Do you ever wonder, are they actually doing their homework while they're on their device? Well, if you have answered yes to either of those questions, then Securely is the perfect resource for you. And it's going to put a little bit, I keep using the word power, but a little bit of power in your hands as a parent with your students' devices. So Securely is here to help manage your students' device and make sure that they are on task and becoming responsible digital citizens. So to access some more information about Securely, you can scan this QR code here on the screen with your phone or your iPad if you have access to an iPad, or you can use that website that you see at the bottom of your screen and just enter that into your browser, and you'll be able to gain a ton of information about Securely. So what is Securely? Well, it's a parent app. It's a portal that you have access to as a parent of an APS student. And what it does is allow you to have a real peace of mind about what your student or students are doing on their device. It allows you to see their online activity. You get a real-time snapshot of what's happening on their devices. You also get a weekly email report. So some of you may already be signed up and receiving those emails. If not, I'm going to show you how you can get signed up. It allows you to pause the internet. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. It allows for online activity-based push notifications and just that real-time feedback about your students' devices. So just a little tidbit, if you did not know already, Atlanta Public Schools is now one-to-one. Well, what does that mean? That means that 100% of our students in Atlanta Public Schools have their own individual device. Pre-K and kindergarten students have an iPad, and our students in 1st through 12th grade have a Chromebook. And so you may have seen these devices already coming home with your students in their backpacks, or maybe they're, laying on the kitchen table or on their bed, or it might even be under their bed. Let's get those out from under their beds. And they have access to these devices to do their homework, to access any websites or resources that their teachers are sharing with them. And so if you see those devices coming home and you don't know why, that's why we are one-to-one, and every student in Atlanta Public Schools has a device. So Securely will work on those devices. They don't yet work on the iPads, but they do work on those 1st through 12th grade Chromebooks. So we have a little video for you that is going to play just to give you a quick little overview of what Securely is.
My name is Sorana, and I do Simply Piano.
Every time a school chooses Securely, a multi-layered digital defense is put in place. That's why we're so excited your school has chosen Securely and entrusted your child's online safety to us. Whenever your student is on their school device, we're at work behind the scenes protecting them from inappropriate content or flagging activities that might point to self-harm or bullying. Think of us as your extra set of eyes, keeping kids safe in the digital world. In an effort to make your child's online experience as positive as possible, Securely makes it easier for parents to be looped in by providing you with a weekly email, including a snapshot of your child's online activity. But that's just the beginning. Once you download the Securely Home app, you'll have the ability to view a live feed of your child's online activity, including what sites they're visiting and what searches they're making. With Securely Home, you have the option to enable push notifications and receive alerts for any flagged activities, such as self-harm or bullying. But Securely's Home features don't stop when your child leaves school. When school devices come home, the Securely app makes it possible for those devices to play by your rules. Choose to filter your own set of websites and categories. Even hit pause on the internet if you need to. Plus, you're able to set an automated offline schedule for the internet, perfect for dinner or bedtime. For now, be sure to keep an eye out for the email from us containing a download link to the Securely Home app, plus instructions on getting started. Thank you once again for allowing Securely to be part of keeping your child safe online. We look forward to partnering with you in this pursuit.
And so that just gives you a little bit more information about what Securely is and some of the awesome tools that are in the Securely Parent app. And so how will you access Securely? I'm so glad you asked. You will first want to go ahead and check your email that you have on file with Atlanta Public Schools. And if you don't know which email that is, I'm going to show you how to update that or check that in just a second. But go ahead and open your email inboxes and type Securely in the search box. And hopefully you are in our Infinite Campus portal and you will have already received that email. You will be able to access Securely through that app. There will be more instructions on what to do in that email. If you don't already have that email or you don't have an email address on file with Infinite Campus already, I'm going to show you how to do that next. So how do you update your email address in Infinite Campus? I'm going to walk you through the steps now. So first, you're going to go ahead and open Infinite Campus, and you're going to click on the More menu. Once you click on that More menu, you're going to select where it says Family Information over to the right. Then you're going to click Update next to the family member whose contact information you wish to update. So if you have more than one parent or guardian inside of Infinite Campus, you can update the email addresses for all of them right there. Then you're going to make those desired changes. Go ahead and check that email address and make sure it's up to date and current. And then you're going to click Update. You will then receive that email from Securely, and once you have that Securely Parent app email, you will be ready to go. So now that your email address is updated, you want to definitely look out for that email. It may take about 24 hours for it to actually cycle through and send you that email. But once you receive that email, it's going to prompt you to download the Securely app. And this is very important. You'll want to download that app on your mobile device. You won't be able to access it via just a computer or a laptop or computer, desktop computer. You will definitely need to do that on your mobile device. It will walk you through. It is available both for Apple and Android, and so everybody will have access. So once you are logged in and you have access to this amazing application, you will notice some different things on your home screen. So you'll have a menu icon, an activity feed, you'll have a rules icon, flagged activities, offline schedules, and a pause the internet button, which I think is my favorite resource in this tool. So let's talk a little bit about those and what each of those features do. So for the activity feed, you'll see a button that says users and filter options. Those are something that you definitely want to click on and play around with. But this activity feed gives you a real-time view of what your student is doing online. Absolutely amazing. So you'll see those activities, they're displayed in descending order. So the most recent thing that they have done will be on the top. You'll be able to see what resources or websites they've gone to. You'll be able to see if they're actually on Google or Microsoft doing their homework. And you can switch between different users. So if you have more than one child in Atlanta Public Schools, you can switch on each of their names to toggle between both of their activity feeds. In the right-hand corner, you'll have different options for those filter activities. So for flagged activities, this is going to show us if our students are engaging in searches for self-harm or bullying. And so this is an important thing that you definitely want to check and just, keep in the back of your minds that you remember to check the flagged activity section. So again, if your students are searching for those harmful terms, bullying terms, self-harm terms, you are going to have, as a parent, access to a list of those things that they're searching. And we also, in our security office here in Atlanta Public Schools, get access to that information as well. Then the rules section. This allows you as the parent to set those specific parameters and rules for what you want your student to be able to do while they're on their device. So maybe you want to block certain websites or allow certain websites. You can also set up different categories. So this is just a great resource to give you a little bit more control over what your student's doing on their device while they have it at home after school hours. And then offline schedules allows you to set those specific time windows that you want your student to be offline. So if your child is anything like mine and they're just up all hours of the night, you can turn off their website, their Wi-Fi access, from let's say 12 midnight to 7 a.m. If you just want to guarantee that they're not going to be able to open that device and search for anything or just be on the computer period between those hours, you can go ahead and set those rules, set those offline schedules, and they will not be able to access. And then the pause internet button, which I love. So let's say you have a student that it is dinner time and you want to pause that internet because you want them to focus on dinner and time with the family. You can go ahead and click that pause internet button and they will not be able to access the internet. Or if you want them to take a break or to maybe it's time to go take a shower and get ready for bed, you can go ahead and pause that internet as well. And then you can also unpause it just by clicking the button a second time. So as I said earlier, you will get those weekly notification emails. Some of you have already, like I said, started to receive those. We know that email inboxes get inundated and full. And so if those emails get to be too much for you or you would like to turn those off, you can definitely do so. So by default, you are automatically going to get those emails. So if you want to turn them off, at the bottom of your email that you receive from Securely, there will be a button that says unsubscribe. You just have to click that button and you'll be able to unsubscribe from those weekly emails. So we hope that this has given you a little bit of excitement about the Securely Parent app and about all of the resources that you have as a parent to assist in the educational process through technology use for your student while they are at home with you. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to your schools for more information. Again, we have this amazing parent hub that we have created just for you. Your school educational technology specialists are going to be doing trainings at your schools. And so you will probably receive more information about that. So if you missed something that I shared with you tonight, you will be able to reach out to your schools for more information. And again, just really quickly about setting up your account, I just want to remind you there's 5 simple steps. So you're going to check your email for that invite from Securely. You're going to open that app. Once you download the app and click the login button, you'll get instant access. You'll sign in and then you'll be able to explore that home screen and get ready to go. And again, for more information, we have that QR code for you. Again, I know we keep putting it up there. We just want to make sure everyone has access along with that website. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to your schools. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Selena Florence.
All right, so if you have any questions about intervention or about the Securely app, we will take those right now. We'll give you just a few more seconds to put your questions in the chat. Okay, so we would like your feedback about tonight's session. You can scan this QR code and it will ask you 4 questions. And the last question is simply, what questions do you still have? So please take a few moments and give us some feedback. This is our first engagement with you from the Division of Academics. We do plan to hold more parent cluster trainings in the spring to provide you with more information about our initiatives within the Division of Academics. So please take some time to give us some feedback. We hope you enjoyed this session and that you learned lots of information that will be useful to you. And we hope that you have a great evening.